Welcome to A Life of Creation. I'm the host, Chad, and this is Brian, who founded M1NT.
I call it mint I wanted to have a 1 instead of an I, because every single, like our core product, which is called the Mint Case G1, every single one of those cases is unique. They're all one of ones. And so I wanted to have kind of call out that our prime is, I'm trying to make everything very, very unique, one of ones on everything. Everything's stored on the blockchain. Everything is very, there's a unique identifier in every single case to make it so that the goal of it was to frankly kill counterfeiters once and for all, and to deter and kill theft. Like, people cannot steal these cases. The only way that they can, steal them and do something nefarious is if they sell it on the black market, the way that they would art. Because of the way we're storing everything on the blockchain, we're keeping records. It's a serious level of provenance that makes it so if somebody tries to sell a case that's not theirs, we know about it. The buyer knows about it. It's just counterfeiting and theft take a huge hit from the products I built. And so that's why I put the 1 in there. And so we call it, it's mint.
Which makes these really cool.
Nice. There you go.
Cases. I just put this one in.
That looks really good, huh? How's it feel? Does it feel good?
I mean, yeah. The feel of it is one thing, but seeing it on your shelf displayed this way is, that really is, I think, the secret sauce to it. Is It doesn't look like just a card on your shelf. It looks like a piece of art.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that's what we wanted it to be. Is oh, sick, Gretzky.
Yeah.
With his that's a cool card. I like that card. I've seen. Yeah. And no, it's it. We built these cases because I was tired of displaying my own cards in cheap, flimsy, like tacky one touches or penny sleeves or top loaders or whatever. And so I was like, I want to do something better. In fact, what's going to be good for those 2 cards is sometime over the summer, we're going to be releasing like our wall display, where you put the hobby cases go into the wall display. So the whole idea is I wanted to turn cards into what they actually are, which is little pieces of fine art. You have your photography on the back wall right there, but people spend so much money on cards. They sink so much money into it. And it's a real passion for a lot of people because of the nostalgia and the love of these little pieces of cardboard. And yet people put them in cardboard boxes and little top loaders in their safe or under the bed or in the garage. And they cherish these things. Even $1 cards they cherish. And so I wanted to take them out of the cardboard boxes, take them out of the safes, and let people really enjoy the cards as the art that I believe they are, and that 99% of people believe they are. Exactly.
If they're in the hobby,
yes,
they believe it.
Yeah.
Why else would you do it?
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't treasure it to some degree, why are you doing it?
Exactly. So thanks, man. It's cool to see your hobby cases right there. That's awesome.
Yeah, this is my favorite one, though.
That's sick.
So I actually got that signed by him in person.
Did you really? How old were you? Were you young, like a kid?
Yeah, probably 10.
Yeah. Man, you don't forget a moment like that, right?
So this was when they did Skate with the Keens. Back, I don't know when, my dad got us tickets for it, and he was my favorite player. And I was so nervous going up to him. I dropped the card onto the ice, and he actually bent down and picked it up. And I'm just
he's like, card for you.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm just like, he's like the nicest dude ever. And
that makes him even that much more of your favorite player back then, Like,
oh my goodness,
that little moment with him.
Yeah. And it was incredible. And like you were talking about, this card sat in one of those screw down cases for 30 years.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And a sock and a box that was in my shed.
Yeah. Sad. And I'm guessing, how did you feel when you pulled those out and put them on your wall for the first time?
These are all over my dresser now. So I look at them every morning, and it feels good.
Isn't it weird how looking at these pictures, little pictures on cardboard, somehow that, we don't have that much of a relationship with, it's not like I know, some of these baseball players or basketball players personally, and yet seeing those pictures, it's like that moment in the movie Ratatouille where the critic goes right back to childhood and feels those amazing, like, nostalgic, warm feelings. It's a really hard thing to describe, but you know it if you know it,
Yeah. I mean, hockey was really, I grew up watching baseball And my grandpa was like really big into baseball. He got me into the collecting baseball cards and everything. But hockey was like the first sport that I was like, this is mine. I'd play out in the driveway for hours by myself, just shooting against the garage door until my dad bought me a goal and all this stuff. So like hockey definitely has like this permanence in me. And, and Luka Robitaille and Gretzky were the catalyst for it all.
They were the kings. And more ways than one. I haven't seen a hockey game in it's been a couple of years now. And going to Kings games. And usually I'll bring packs of hockey cards and open them up in the stands or pass them out to some of the people sitting around me or whatever. And it's somehow ripping packs of current cards or packs from the 80s or whatever. Just makes the game a little bit more exciting. And it always bonds people that I'm sitting around when we're talking about cards or trading or whatever. It just makes it a bit more interesting for me.
Yeah. I mean, so many legends from that era too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, it may not be as worth as much as some, but it's like my whole childhood is those players.
Yeah. Like all my favorite cards from my childhood are none of them are valuable, like zero. Right. They're all I think the most expensive card that any friend of mine had back in the day was the Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card. And that was about $100 at the time. But my most valuable card in my collection was, I think, it was the 1984 Topps Don Mattingly card. And that was probably the one I had was probably worth $5. And that was my cherished card that I thought was so special and, worth everything to me. But I didn't know the value of money all that much. I just knew that this card had value and it was $5. And I still have that card. And it means a lot to me that I still have it.
Yeah. Yeah. I got back into the cards because we inherited my grandpa's collection.
Oh, that's cool.
He had some good old ones, but he was a teacher, and so he took all of his favorite cards and pinned them on his wall in his classroom. So he has Hank Aaron, Mickey Mantle cards, but they all have pinholes and the corners are all just messed up. But
that hurts, man. That hurts. But I also love it because those are cherished cards. And if those were my grandfather's cards, the fact that they were his and they even had those pins in them would make it more special. Like owning a Mickey Mantle from my grandfather would be way more valuable to me than buying some Mickey Mantle off of eBay that was even a higher grade. There's something special about the nostalgia of knowing that was in your family. So that's really cool that you have those now.
Yeah. And I mean, he cherished them. He loved them.
Yeah.
Like I said, he was the one who got us into the collecting to begin with. So most of his cards are all 80s, 90s. Just, I think he got into set buildings. I mean, we just have boxes of him trying to complete sets or something. But
so you have infinity 80s cards in your place.
Yeah, pretty much. If we ever need to start a fire, we got some kindling for sure. But it's been fun to go through them, and then it got me interested in it again. Yeah. And it was during COVID too, so everyone's like, "Oh, you should pull out your old baseball cards." So I did, and I was like, "Well, now I want new ones."
Yeah, that happened to a lot of people. Wow, I like this $5 card from childhood. Now let me go spend $1,000 on boxes.
Yeah, I kind of got in one of my first packs that I bought. I got an Adley Rushman rookie card.
Dang.
And I showed my father-in-law, who's from Oregon, had just 2 days later was talking about Adley. I'm like, wait, I think I just got his card. He's like, oh man, I remember him as a kid playing for Aloha, where he was from. He used to coach for him, so he remembers.
Oh no way!
I don't think
He's
he actually
Aloha?
Aloha Beaverton. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I grew up in Beaverton.
Yeah, that's where my wife's.
Oh, sick! I wonder if maybe we went to the same schools. I spent from 1987 to 1992 in Beaverton, Oregon.
Well, she was born in 86, so
yeah, so probably not.
Yeah, but my father-in-law coached. I think it's the Aloha Warriors.
Yeah,
the Pop Warner football. Right?
Yeah.
So he was really involved in youth sports, and he remembers seeing Adley as a kid, and he's just that kid's got something.
I had
special.
no idea Adley was in Aloha. That's pretty cool.
I don't know if he was a lower proper, but like in that
Well, he's
area,
probably from Beaverton if he was a
probably.
classy
Yeah.
guy. So that's
Yeah. I mean, take it from my wife. Yeah, you didn't
yeah.
want to be from Aloha.
No, nobody does, man. Nobody still does. Sorry, people listening from Aloha, but Beaverton's where it's at.
Right. Yeah. Well, I know we could go off forever on a tangent of baseball cards and hobby, but so kind of give us your story, like how you got to where you are now, why you. I think you're kind of talking about why of just wanting a better case to display your cards, but what was like kind of like your how did you get there moment?
Well, I'm a full backstory is I've been an entrepreneur since as early as I can remember. I mean, I remember trying to sell stuff in the neighborhood when I was a kid. Lemonade stands, little baseball card stand, trying to sell my own toys. I just really loved the idea of anything that could kind of generate cash, and I think I just enjoyed the whole like challenge, the process. Some other kids were playing, just on Nintendo or whatever back in the day, and I was building a carnival in my front yard and figuring out how to sell tickets to the carnival and have all these like various games and things. And so, and when I was 10 years old in Beaverton, I spray painted people's house numbers on curbs, and I did that every day after school for like months. That allowed, and my brother did it with me, and it allowed the two of us to go on a huge trip with our dad in 1989 across the United States. We went 36 states in 30 days because we got these bus tickets for crazy cheap. You could be on a Greyhound bus for a whole month for that, like for a very small price. And so doing the spray painting the numbers on curbs and then discovering that I had this huge impactful life experience because of it, it just created an entrepreneur in me, and I've never been able to let that go. I can't help it. Actually, it's like I've done the corporate thing. I've worked in corporations for, but every time, as soon as I get into a corporate job, I'm already planning my exit. Most people are like, oh, how can I get the next promotion? How can I get the next, bonus? And I'm like, how can I get out of here? How can I escape? Because I love working on challenging projects. I love being creative. And so in my 20s, my creativity was all about, like, after I graduated college, or even during college, it was all music. I was in the music business, both in the record labels themselves. I worked for Disney in Burbank at the corporate record labels. So there's Hollywood Records, Walt Disney Records, and Lyric Street Records were the three labels at the time. And so I was putting bands on tour for Disney. And then I was moonlighting, doing my own band. I was playing in a rock band. It was like rock electronica kind of stuff, like the Killers or Muse, that kind of style, that kind of merging of, rock and electronica and a little bit of hip hop in kind of the 2005, 6, 7 kind of time period. I played in a band for 6 years and toured around and released a few albums. And I loved the creative process, but I also got, the crap beat out of me. Being in the music business is just, in Southern California in 2003, it's hard. I remember walking into my first record label, I like proudly with a demo CD, a little EP, walking into Warner Brothers, walking up to the front desk and saying, where do I, who do I give my album to? It's like, the worst possible, I didn't have the older uncle that was kind of saying, dude, don't do that. Do not do that. That's the worst way to, just get wrecked. So I just went through the label system, worked at the corporate labels for cash, did my own thing. And then I hit 30, realized I didn't want to, spend my life. I didn't want to be the guy playing piano in the mall in my future. And so I thought, it's probably time for me to switch careers a little bit. And so I ended up going to business school in England for the purpose of getting a wider range of skills, hard skills, and then while I was there, I came up with the idea of creating a television show. My best friend in California, I'd have been living in Huntington Beach, and my best friend at the time was this big all-American kind of football playing guy, and he spoke perfect Chinese. He had a master's degree in Chinese language, and he had an educational degree, and he spoke perfect Chinese. And whenever I see him interacting with people, Chinese people, they would just lose their minds. And when they would see my buddy speaking like flawless Chinese with like a Beijing accent. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And I thought there was a business plan there. And so I wrote up a business plan of how he and I could take a camera, crisscross across the United States, like film endless amounts of content of him speaking Mandarin Chinese as we would go from, weird spot to weird spot across this, great United States, and go, rodeos or bayou alligator jet boat tours or just weird stuff, and do it all in Mandarin Chinese. And so I ended up kind of pursuing that in a big way. And it turned into the next 10 years of my career of making a Chinese television show. It didn't become me and my best friend anymore. It became, I ended up hiring actors and having a script. And I ended up hiring, I had about 100 people working out of an office in the Hollywood Hills. And I had a huge cast and crew and filming. And we had the first ever contract for television to be filmed in the United States for broadcast in China. Mm-hmm. And this was like 2010, 11, and 12. So China was just still very open and opening up. Kind of did that for a while. And then you might have heard about, this virus that popped up right about the time that I was working on a tourism company with China, which is the worst possible business that anybody could be in 2020. Chinese television and Chinese tourism coming into the United States, worst possible business. And so sitting there in my office one day, and my two right-hand guys came in and were like, obviously we can't do China television anymore. We got to do something else. And they said, surely you have another idea, something else in your back pocket that you've been kind of sitting on. And I said, yeah, I got this idea for making I've always collected trading cards since I was like a third grader. And I always thought that there should be better displays and protections for those trading cards. I want to see like what James Bond would have on his wall if he collected trading cards. It'd be something really cool. And nobody had anything cool like that. Everything was tacky and silly or bad materials, these horrible wooden frames with like baseball diamonds and cards in there. And I thought it always looked like some terrible, walking into like a flea market kind of stuff with a really bad, wooden plaque or something. And I'm like, I don't want that in my house. I don't want that on my wall. I like classy things. I want to have nice things up on my wall. And so I was telling my team about this, and they were like, wait, nobody's doing this? No, this is kind of April 2021. And I was like, no, nobody's doing anything like this. There's like the grading companies, but they don't care about aesthetics at all. All the grading cases they're terrible. They're ugly. And everybody knows it. Nobody says it out loud. I'll say it out loud. They're ugly. They're hideous. In fact, they're very, very easily counterfeited. You can easily counterfeit that. I know exactly how to counterfeit that if I wanted to. But what I wanted to do was like, hey, let's fix all these problems. Let's fix the theft. Let's fix the counterfeiting, and let's fix the aesthetics. And so I went and hired a design and engineering firm up near Palo Alto and said, guys, let's go and build the world's best cases and displays for trading cards. And then after that, we'll expand into coins and shoes and comic books, because I'm a shoe collector too. I have a big sneaker collection. And so I'm like, I want to have all my best 1990 Air Maxes on my wall, in really cool displays with LEDs and LCDs and stuff like that. And so I ended up kind of spending the last 4 years doing serious amounts of R&D and learning everything about, from blockchain to tight tolerances on ballistic glass and titanium screws and various kinds of H16 stainless steel that has ferrous properties. Learned all these crazy things to go and build the world's best displays and cases. And we've achieved that. And now we actually have partnerships with a couple grading firms. And the people that hold our G1 cases, our flagship cases, right, which are made out of glass and steel and Viton, very cool properties. Everyone that holds those loses their minds because it's the way that cards and collectibles should have always been displayed. It took somebody to come along, and you know what? It's been the hardest few years trying to get this really done properly. I wanted to get it right, and now we've achieved it, and we've hit a point where we're now selling our products. That's the story.
That's a great story. You explaining the bad display cases. That's why all of us put them in the shed and the garage and in shoe boxes, because I inherited some of those bad displays from my grandpa, and they immediately went in the shed because I'm like, I don't want to hang that up.
Yeah. You're a photographer. You understand aesthetic. So why would you ever want to put some ugly thing on the wall? It's stupid.
Yeah. I mean, especially people who have smaller homes, wall space is a premium. Like, yeah, don't throw something dumb up there.
Yeah.
Might as well throw something cool. And, thinking about it too, people spend crazy amounts of money on these cards, like crazy amounts.
Yeah.
And it's in a thin, ugly, with like a horrible label that just looks dumb.
Yep. You understand it, man. Seriously, it blows my mind that people put like a 1952 Mickey Mantle in the same cheap plastic as a 1952 PSA 10 perfect Mickey Mantle that would probably sell for around, I'm guessing 30 or 40, maybe even 50 million for one of those 3 PSA 10s. And at least that's how much they're insured for.
Right.
And so the same cheap plastic that those are in is the same you'd put a $1 card. That to me it's ridiculous. We don't do that with Rembrandt and Monet and Picasso. We don't do that with the Mona Lisa. Like, we put them in, better materials. We put them in museums, make them nice. And so it's just, to me, like, I remember seeing one of the 52 mantles in a perfect PSA 10, and it was in the terrible PSA case. And then that case was in a big plexiglass box. And I was like, you're just putting,
plastic around plastic.
Yeah, it looked ludicrous. And that was the whole point. Let's make this stuff nice.
Yeah.
And then let's make it also that you can't counterfeit it. You can't steal it. If you do steal it, you have to go into like black market in order to be able to offload it. So my company has now solved all those problems. And we're doing some really cool stuff with technology that we're going to be releasing in kind of January, February, March of 2026. And I think it's going to blow some people's minds. It's blown my mind when I've kind of been developing the technology. And every week I talk to the developers. I'm like, whoa, it can do that too. And so we're going to solve, like, theft is bye-bye theft. We're taking care of that.
Well, this might come out in March, so it might be right on the tail of some cool announcements then.
Well, there you go.
I liked SGC more than PSA, mainly for it looked like more of an art piece. Because I liked the matte. And
no, the SGC by far, in my opinion, had the nicest slabs. And I say had because I don't think their SGC is going to survive. They were purchased by PSA, right. But I don't believe for a second the PSA is going to let them be an independent grader that operates within their own company. That'll never happen. Every time a company slurps up another company like that, they might say initially that we're going to keep status quo. It's going to be status quo. No, I don't believe it for 2 seconds. SGC is going the way of the dodo.
Which is probably why the CEO left, right?
Yeah. And I liked Peter. Peter was a buddy of mine. Still a buddy of mine. I haven't seen him in maybe a year and a half, but he's a good guy. He cares about cards. He loves cards. And so it was sad to see him leave SGC. And it was sad to see a brand that I think SGC was a great brand. And I really liked a couple of the other leaders of SGC, but I don't see them existing. Right. They did have the best case. It was still very easy. It's very easy to crack an SGC case. It's very easy to counterfeit it as well. It's just the nicest looking, but it's so prone to counterfeiting.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I took some of my grandpa's cards and got them graded through them. They're all 1s or 1.4 or 1.5, but
they do look nicer because of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, I can now hand this to my son who's 6 and 9, and they're not going to totally destroy it.
There you go.
I'm like, one day this will be yours, but
yes, all of this, my son, will be yours. Yes.
Yeah. But I kind of need to learn what you learned and start getting rid of some stuff.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah, because my family history is we buy and then we store it.
That would be a lot of Americans. We're pack rats. We like to hold on to everything, and hold on to it forever in case we might need it someday.
I mean, I'm certainly glad I held on to that guy.
Yeah, see, that's awesome, man. See, I'm a military brat, and so I didn't get the luxury of being able to kind of put stuff in the back. It was constantly like, well, if we didn't use it in the last place, you're probably not going to use it in the next place. So it was like every 3-4 years, you're being stationed in a new city, and so you have to. Well, guess we're have no idea what happened to all that last stuff.
If it doesn't fit in the car, it ain't coming.
If it doesn't fit, it doesn't come. Yep.
Yeah. Your story is a true entrepreneurial story where you saw a need and you figured out how to fulfill that need.
Yeah.
I mean, is that kind of like the definition of an entrepreneur?
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like I keep a notebook of all my ideas, and how I come up with ideas is I usually, all it is just walking around town or living my normal life and then going, man, I really wish there was X. And whenever I have that moment of I really wish there was X, I'm like, okay, that's a business plan. And then I'll just write it down in the, one of these days I'm just going to share all my ideas because I don't have the time to do all of these things. And I don't
Right.
care if somebody goes and takes the idea and runs with it and makes something special out of it.
Right.
I just want to see, what it is. I think being an entrepreneur is constantly seeing things and picturing them better. It's wanting everything better.
Right.
The door handle, the way that, part of a car works, kind of ice cream you're eating. It's just constant going, man, I see what this is, but it could be better. And so that's what, for me, being an entrepreneurship is trying to pick the battle that you want to kind of champion, because however long you think a project's going to take, triple it. That's how long it's actually going to take. In fact, it's probably 10 times as much.
Yeah.
And so you'll think, oh, this is going to only take me 2 years to get this product to market. Nope, sorry. It's going to take you 5 or 7 or 10. I think being an entrepreneur, I think a lot of people have it in them. I think particularly when they're younger.
Right. Yeah.
And then life kind of, beats you up, and then you have to, you have obligations. I don't have any kids. And so it was easier for me to take really heavy risks. Right. And so, whereas other people that might have had, children in their, early 20s or whatever, it makes you way more risk adverse. So I'm a very risk forward person. I have zero problem with risk. I'm increasingly dialing down my risk now, but in my 20s, I didn't care. It was right. Like, well, let's go and try this. Let's go try that. Because if it didn't work, we'll figure it out. There's always a way to kind of crawl back or, climb yourself out of a financial pit, or go get the corporate job to be able to get yourself out of debt to go do the next project.
Right. Yeah. I got married at 32, which is later than most, because I was shooting concerts and trying photography. I'm just like, I can barely support myself.
Well, yeah, that's just it.
I can't throw a woman in here.
Yeah, exactly.
But now I make enough to, my wife stays home with our boys and homeschools. And
hey, sounds like you're winning at life, my man.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought it would happen like that, but
yeah. Well, I'm 46, and I'm finally found the woman I'm going to marry and have kids with, and so I was later in life, but it allowed me to kind of go and do all my entrepreneurial activities. But now right. I plan on having kids, and I plan on getting married and doing the whole 9 yards, and so the goal is still to have it all. It's just, for me, it was delayed because I was chasing the entrepreneurial path, and which is a very slippery slope, because a decade of your life can disappear in a project if you're not careful, because a lot of entrepreneurs, myself included, have a really hard time letting things go. Even when a business plan is not good, or that there's a problem with it or a fundamental flaw, you think, I'm going to hold on to it. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to make it better. And right. Then there goes another 5 years.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think most creators, we're driven by our creation. So, I mean, for me, I was like, I told my parents, I'm like, I feel like I have to do this. And, they let me stay there for much longer than I should have. And, and just were supportive. And I had a part-time job at a movie theater to make a little bit to eat. And I would go shoot concerts whenever I could. Yeah. And then got the current job. And then, I was able to kind of gain stability and that, weekly or bi-weekly check. And then life came, but it was, I had to do it that way. I can't imagine it any other way.
Yeah. It's challenging. Like, having supportive parents is a big part. I don't think I 100% wouldn't be where I am right now without supportive parents. And what I mean by that is that they never tried to diminish it. It was always right. An encouragement. Most people were always shocked when they would find out that my parents were encouraging of my entrepreneurial activities, because they'd be like, don't you just want your kid to go get a job and, and
don't you want grandkids?
And grandkids and the whole 9 yards. And my parents were very, like, even with the band, like, it was, I mean, my parents are weird like that though. They were entrepreneurial minded in and of themselves. They were very encouraging of me spray painting house numbers on curbs when I was 10. That was a very, I was raised as a, very much into the Boy Scouts. And so there was very much, earn your merit badges, get your Eagle Scout, go and do, things and enrich yourself and try to do it all. Right. My parents were very encouraging and stretching yourself to try to do a lot of things outside the norm.
Right.
And then like in the band years, a lot of people would say like, oh, aren't your parents embarrassed that I went to an Ivy League school for my undergrad. And
Right.
next thing you know, I'm moving out to Huntington Beach and starting a rock band. And people are like, aren't your parents so mad right now that you're playing in a rock and roll band and you're broke every single day? Because I was like doing all these odd jobs. I was like working as a valet, and I was working like just these horrible jobs. I worked at this terrible real estate developer, just awful people, and trying to be able to just, keep the lights on.
Right.
And my parents were just like, hey, when's your next show? We want to come, kind of stuff. I'm like, are you serious? And, like I thought they were also going to not be supportive. But so I think the parents supporting and, thinking that what I was doing was cool. They were proud of it. They liked telling people, oh, yeah, Brian's in a band, building this baseball card company, that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. My parents weren't going to my shows. They were pretty they were pretty sad that I was playing in punk bands. But I do remember my dad coming one time and he's like, you guys actually weren't bad. I was like, because he was a music teacher. So
oh, there you go. Yeah.
I learned trumpet and was playing in marching band in high school and stuff. And then after freshman year, I'm just like, I'm done.
Yeah.
The band director is awful. I'm going to pick up a bass and start a punk band. I lost all my musical theory, but I had more fun playing music than I ever did playing trumpet. So,
oh yeah.
And
yeah.
My dad's like, you're playing music. I'm happy with that. So
yeah, that was me. I was like saxophone in the band, but my true love was piano. And so I would get any chance I got to play on a piano, I would just play. And it was always just composing and writing my own stuff. Yeah. And so when I started my rock band, it was all piano written. And then I would kind of add in the guitars and the synth and the strings and everything else, but it's all piano based. And so, yeah, it sounds like we had the similar there.
Yeah, I so regret not sticking with piano because now as I write songs, I write stuff on the guitar, but I immediately transpose it to piano.
Yeah.
So I take the chord progression and then because then when I use the musical composition program, I can lay it out and I know that, the left hand is the guitar chords I'm playing, and then I can start figuring out the melody without having to necessarily play it.
Yeah,
that's funny. I can hear it in my hand.
I do the exact opposite. Write everything on piano and then move it to guitar. But I'm a terrible guitar player. But in the band, I played rhythm guitar, but I was singing and playing, and so I would always translate everything I was doing on piano to power chords on the guitar. So that's as good as I could do.
Hey, that's all you need, really.
All you need.
Yeah, especially if you have a full band backing you. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you just need to stay out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. Just make it look cool, but they're doing the real work. Yeah,
exactly. You've done a lot of creative things. So what does it mean to live a life of creation?
Living a life of creation is about, it's a mindset. It's about being open to things. It's, it's being open. It's allowing yourself to think about things and then follow, and then, everyone is so easy to tell you something can't be done or that it's a bad idea. I wouldn't be where I am or have what I have if I had listened to the people in my world. Everyone told me, don't do the music. People told me, don't do the Chinese television show. Don't build a baseball card company, and every single time it was like, it's amazing how many people, I think there's some people that just don't want you to succeed. They feel better if you're, where they're at. And so I think it's staying kind of, everybody has that when they're in their kind of teenage years, when they're a kid or when they're teenagers. When people are asking you, what do you want to be when you grow up and when you're a little kid, usually you have big, grandiose kind of things. Yeah. And then life beats you up and, tragedies happen and people tell you, oh, you can't do that. It's probably not going to work out or whatever. And you're, it is right a lot. It's really hard to make things happen in this world. You got everything against you. I think it's at least being open to the things you care about. I wish I wouldn't have spent like so much of my 20s and even bits of my 30s working on things that I just didn't care about. And I didn't realize you could, it's such a do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. I heard that and I just thought it was like a platitude. But now I'm like, oh man, I wish I was doing M1NT back when I was 23. Like when I graduated college, I wish I was directly getting into what I'm doing now because I loved it. I loved doing it, and I can't imagine, do what you love. You'll never work a day in your life. I think that's it. It is just keeping yourself open to things.
Yeah. Now, I am a photographer, and it is something I love, but it definitely turns into a job at some point.
Yeah. Oh, it always does.
It always does. But it's like, I think part of that saying is people don't talk about it, but it's like you're willing to do the work. It's not easy, but you don't care. It's like you love every aspect of it.
Yeah, it definitely turns into work. I mean, M1NT, it's not like it's fun every day. Right. There's days I have a lot of challenges to try to overcome. I've had some monster challenges in this company over the last 4 years. There's a lot of, it's not like it's happy-go-lucky every single day doing what you love, but you have a purpose behind you. You have the motivation, and it allows you to overcome the obstacles.
Yeah. I wonder if it's time to change the saying to, if you do something that you find purpose in, you'll never work a day in your life.
That's it. That's the way.
Because I think, everything I love to do, I don't make any money.
Yeah.
But I have to do it, because we're driven to do it. Yeah. Now, do you think if you had started M1NT 20 years ago, do you think you would have had the info and the technology to have done what you wanted to do back then?
No, but at least I would have done the content side. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't have had the resources to have done all the engineering, and frankly, the technologies weren't there. There's no way that we could be building what we're building if Apple hadn't have pioneered so much to do with glass and machine work. So, but at least on the content side, I could have done really well. I had ideas for doing kind of content plays like with YouTube back in 2005, and I just kind of ignored it. I wish I would have done some of the content stuff. I was always behind the camera. I was never in front of the camera,
right?
With my career. And I wish I would have done more of in front of the camera stuff. I just didn't have, I don't know if, but I could have at least sowed a lot of the seeds that would have benefited me if I had started everything sooner.
Yeah. You would have had a brand already.
Yeah.
And then you're like, boom, check it out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, it's amazing. Like doing the social media stuff, the best thing that's come out of it is it's kind of like a walking resume, like my social media, is that it gives a certain layer of credibility. Like if I was just trying to sell card cases and I didn't have the social media side, it would be 10 times harder, just 10 times harder. It's that by the virtue of the social media, most people at least have some idea who I am or what I stand for. And so when I walk into meetings in the card world, they already have a really good idea of who I am and why I'm there and what what my goals are. And it's just like whereas, other times in life when a company went bust or something like that, I had to build out from ground zero reputation, and had to kind of crawl out of a hole without that kind of, a reputation preceding me. So I wish I had done this social media stuff way earlier, or at least tried it in different kinds of ways.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of regret not really jumping on it either.
Which is funny because I actually was vlogging at the time. Like I was, when I was in 2003, I was like, 24? And I bought myself a little camera. And, most people would, buy the camera to take pictures. I bought it specifically for video. Right. And so starting in 2003, I would record all these little video clips. And so I have at least, I think it's 12,000 video clips of me doing various things, whether it was entrepreneur or traveling or whatever. I recorded about 12,000 clips, and I have a hard drive just filled with all my content. I just never released any of it. I didn't know I kind of could, or I didn't think anyone would be interested. And I always wondered what would have happened if I had actually posted the video that I took from back then, because I was vlogging, 22 years ago.
You could have been Mr. B.
Hopefully not. Something like that, though. Something where it would have made, the thing is it would have made a lot of the, I wouldn't have, see, that's the thing is I don't care about it for the sake of like, the fame kind of side. Right. It's that it opens doors. Yeah. It makes it so fundraising is easier, or trying to get meetings with certain people. Is that it's about reputation. It has nothing to do with, I couldn't care less about the fame side of it. It's all about reputation and making the entrepreneurial pursuit easier. It's like a resume that everybody kind of can background check you very quickly. Because if you have, years worth of content, which I have now, people can go and watch that and be like, oh, we have a good idea of who he is. He seems like somebody we could do business with.
Yeah. I don't want the fame either, but I like what you're going for. Just be like, hey, I'm this person. Like, oh yeah, we know you, welcome, kind of thing.
Yeah. Like I was trying
to fundraise. Then you can go eat somewhere by yourself and not be bugged.
Yeah. I mean, like it was 2 years ago. I run out of my, the funds that I had dedicated to doing this company, because I discovered that the kind of R&D I was doing, some complex, steel and glass, it was way more expensive than I thought it was going to be. And so I found myself about 2 years ago going, wow, I need new funds. I need to bring in a fundraiser or two. And I had done this one post about how I was kind of like telling people about the company I was building. And I kind of released it, earlier, so that if, anybody was inspired to reach out. And sure enough, one of my followers reached out and said, hey man, I love what you're doing. Are you looking for money? And so now all the fundraising I've done has been from people that have watched my content that have actually contacted me. And so instead of me having to go and reach out and cold call and ask for things, people have come to me and said, hey, can I participate in your company in some way? And so that was that matters to me far more than, trying to like, oh, how many followers do I have? It's and what do people think from a fame perspective? It's just been the most lovely D40 on entrepreneurship.
I hadn't even thought about that, but that's pretty amazing. The impact that it could have, just like you said, just it's your resume, it's your portfolio.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I didn't ever want to have to build up from scratch again. So I knew that if this company had gone under and I had run out of cash and I had tried it my best and nobody liked it, or we didn't build a product that was good enough, I didn't want to have to start out from ground zero. I remember talking to my chief of staff and saying, the reason I'm doing this social media is that if everything falls apart, I can at least get a job out of this. Like, like one of the companies, Tops, Fanatics, whoever, I'll probably be able to get a job, if everything completely goes upside down in a bad way. And so I really thought of the social media, like I didn't actually want to, funny enough, I didn't want to do it at first. It was my chief of staff who was like, I'm going to film you talking about your cards and I'm going to post it. People, and it ended up working out and people liked it. And so we kept on doing it. But then after, a few weeks of it, I'm like, I had no desire to try to like build, up a platform, because that wasn't, the interesting part to me. The interesting part to me was building the company.
Right.
And so all of a sudden it hit me. I was like, wait a minute, this could be a really nice kind of backup, where if things don't work out, well, at least I'll have the reputation and the resume that it will make getting a job or trying something new after this, it'll make everything just easier. And so that's the real reason I did it, is I thought of it as building an asset, building a reputation and a resume.
I love that even your social media, you thought of it as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if I do this, get this goal.
Always, man. It's like every day is just a game of chess in my brain.
Love it. So what's like your creative process? You mentioned if you have an idea, you write it down in a journal. So are you handwriting in a physical journal, or are you kind of doing the phone notes? It's all
typing.
Okay.
I've been a computer nerd my whole life. And so my creative process is usually coming up with an idea in my head. Usually it's somewhere beautiful. Like I tend to come up with my best ideas when I'm driving. Like if I'm on a road trip up to or just driving up to Lake Arrowhead, right? You go up that windy road and then drive across to Big Bear, or, drive from Huntington up to Mammoth or up PCH or whatever. By the time I'm in Palm Springs or any of these other places, I at least have an idea of what that creative process is and what at least I'm jazzed about it. And then the next step for me is that I think most of my ideas are bad, right? We come up with ideas all the time. It's like in music, right? You write a song, you're like, wow, that was amazing. And then you listen to the song 2 days later and you're like, oh man, that is terrible, right?
That's most of mine.
And so it's the same way with creative ideas of any kind, even songwriting. Is I would come up with the idea, or maybe jot down some notes on the or things on the computer, just so I wouldn't forget the key feelings or the key ideas. And then the next step for me is to bounce the idea off someone. Is call my sister, call my brother, and say, hey, I have this idea. I did that with my siblings as soon as I came up with the idea of Mint. I came up with the idea and I drove to Palm Springs and San Diego, sat with my siblings, and I'm like, here's the plan. What do you think? Here's the idea. This is what I'm thinking. And because I know that both of them are going to just absolutely brutalize my idea. They're going to not yes people. They will tell me their honest take on things, and they'll be like, that's a terrible idea, Brian. That's a cash sink. No, absolutely not. And so the creative process for me is coming up with it, dwelling on it, and then bouncing the ideas off of people that I know are going to give me brutal, honest truth.
Yeah, that's a good process.
And if they say it's kind of, hey, there's something there, well then, okay, now I'm start building a spreadsheet to figure out how much all that's going to cost, or really digging into the feasibility analysis. Is this possible? What's the market look like? How much can be made here? How big could it be? How much would it cost me to get to a minimum viability product or service or any of that stuff? It's just a whole long process.
Yeah. I mean, for entrepreneur, it's not just, you got to think of, like for me, I need to figure out how to light it and shoot it, right? It's a pretty simple, straightforward process. This is like, you got probably 100 hats and different things that you got to put into place to make anything happen. So it's like, you're not just thinking product, you're thinking numbers, you're thinking time, cost, like all of this stuff.
All of that has to be measured and accounted for. Because if you just have a good idea, you're going to land on your face. There's so many other things that have to be taken into account.
Yeah.
And making sure you don't run out of money is number one.
It's pretty important.
Yeah.
So would you say that you have because I feel like, most people go, oh, they're creative, they are artistic or whatever. But then you have people who are crazy good with numbers and spreadsheets and very analytical. So do you think as an entrepreneur, you kind of have this mind that really kind of marries the two? Because you almost have to, right?
Yeah, you really have to. I always say that I wanted to succeed in business in both a right brain and a left brain. The creatives, if you just are creative, it's almost impossible. And if you're just a left brain person and you're all just analytical and your numbers and whatever, then you're not going to get off the ground because you have no vision. And, you really, as an entrepreneur, it really helps to have at least some basic understanding of both sides.
Right.
That's why I think what really works is for entrepreneurs that meet up as partners, because one's an analytical person and one's a creative person. And so those can work as long as, people know very well ahead of time what that relationship is and who gets what.
You stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane. But I never did the partnership thing. I couldn't do it. I enjoy both sides. I very much love the creative and the business side. For me, it's I actually see the poetry of both combined.
I wish I had a little bit more of the analytical. I have a pretty good one compared to most creative people, but I don't have it to the degree to jump off and start my own business.
Yeah, because that's hard, man.
Yeah, I minored in business administration, and I always kick myself that I didn't do the entrepreneur program.
No, instead. It's cool that you have that foundation, though. Yeah. That basic foundation of business management is helpful in anything.
Yeah. And I figured as a photographer, because I majored in communication, but emphasis in photography, I was like, let me minor in business still, because even if photography fails, I have some knowledge, or if it succeeds, I have knowledge to run a business.
Yes.
But I enjoyed working for someone who just wrote a check.
It does feel good. I don't know what that feels like, but that must feel really good.
Yeah. I've been there 18 years, so.
There's a lot of benefit there, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I did the freelance for several years. And I always tell the people I interview for work, like, look, there's 1 year or 1 month I made like 10 grand. And this is back when 10 grand was a lot in a month. And my boss at the time was like, man, you made it. You're doing great. You should go buy a car, do all this stuff. I'm like, yeah. So I went and bought a car. And then the next month I didn't work for a year.
That's the way to do it, man.
Yeah.
Live and learn, right?
Yeah. And so, I'm like, it's great. I still do freelance here and there, but it's like having that stability of a consistent check gives you a foundation to kind of do what you want.
No, that's the thing is stability. There's always that give and take on all of it, right? That's the thing about this life. It's impossible to have it all. Yeah. It's impossible. And so each person has to decide for themselves, where they want to be on the stability versus risk ladder. And there's no right or wrong answer, right? I see some of my friends that went the total career of climbing the corporate ladder, and there are, half the time, like we've actually discussed, like I've gone the entrepreneur route and I've had friends that have gone the corporate route the whole time. And we like to play the game of like, what would we have both done if we could do it all over? And because I see something, the stability, I've never really had that kind of stability. And for my friend who's very, very stable, he's never enjoyed the aspect of, really trying to make something out of nothing. Right. And so we both, I think there's neither side is right.
No,
they both have their pros and cons.
Yeah. And it's all personal, like you said.
Yeah.
Like you just got to assess what you want and then chase that.
Yeah, exactly.
And I liked that I did the freelance route first.
Yeah. And it's cool that you got to touch that first.
I got to do so many cool things. I got to shoot concerts all the time. I shot events and stuff. And it's like, I lived it. It was fun. I made some good money and then I didn't. Yep. So I had the ebbs and flows. And at that time, I remember needing to pay rent and, it was due in 2 days and I had no money. I'm just like, I actually remember like praying, just like, God, I need money now. Yeah. And I got a check the next day that covered my rent. Yeah. And it was like, I don't like that feeling.
No, it's a terrible feeling. I remember having that.
I looked for a job
after one of my companies went under, and I found myself driving an Uber car. Yeah. It was because I needed cash to buy food because I had nothing. And so that's a terrible feeling to not know. I even hit a point where I didn't even have enough money to put gas in my car to drive the Uber to be able to get the paycheck. And it was very challenging to make that bridge. Yeah. And there were a lot of days driving that Uber where I was like, I might have made a terrible mistake. Maybe I should have done a different path the whole way because I took such substantial risks.
Yeah.
And so, would I do the exact same path I did? No, absolutely not. Like I would do many, many things different. I took risk where I probably shouldn't have. I probably should have had a bigger savings or nest egg before I went all in on a project. There's a lot of different things I wish if I could descend to my 21-year-old self and share some insights like from A Christmas Carol, I would have, as a ghost showing up, I would have a lot of advice to give that guy, and it would be like, hey man, you don't have to, there's chill, man, make some cash first before you take on all the risk in the world.
Yeah. Or just tell your 18-year-old self, $5,000 into an IRA.
Yeah.
And then go do what you want.
Exactly.
Except at like 30, you're like, an IRA, I hear I should have one.
Exactly.
Well, you kind of touched on it about your siblings. What do you think about the creative community and how is it important to what you do?
Honestly, to me, it's not that important. It's my siblings or the important people in my life, is that there's a handful of people that I truly, truly respect that I've known for decades or whatever that will give me honest takes on things. But I don't feel it's important to not surround yourself with yes people. Right. And so like people in my company, I have 2 guys that have worked for me for 13 years. And one of the reasons why I like having them around is that they're the opposite of yes men. They're no men. They're constantly being like, nope, that's not the way to do it. And I actually love that because it challenges me and requires me to innovate my way out of things that are problems. But I don't really, I don't belong to any kind of like creative, forums, or I just really don't care. I think it's really important to have a handful of people that you trust, that know you and that have known you for a long time, that have that built level of trust, and being able to say, I'm going through this. What do you think? And now I have other people in my life, like, my sister-in-law is like that, my brother-in-law, chief of staff, these two guys that have worked for me long-term, my girlfriend, like these people I now can trust. And so I tend to, I have a core group of people, it's not that big, but maybe another, 4 or 5 people past that. And most of them have nothing to do with entrepreneurship. And
Right.
so it's really nice to be able to kind of just, talk to different people and say, what do you think about this? And and have them be honest to you. So no, I have no desire to go and be a part of any kind of TED Talk community or show up at some WeWork and, exchange ideas. I couldn't care less. I'd rather have people that know me, that we connect, and that they trust. I trust them. They trust me. And that's my creative process with my own community.
Right. I mean, I think everyone has a community.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you need your community is probably the best for you, because they're going to try and talk you off the cliff, and you're like, I'm going to jump. Because
they usually do. They usually try.
So you almost need the non-creative community, because you need the people who think logically and rationally.
Yeah, I don't want to talk to anybody like myself. Yeah, it's I don't need to talk to other visionaries or people that come up with the ideas. I need the people that are going to beat me up on my ideas and give me and ground me, keep me grounded.
I think that's one of the most important parts of your community, is keeping you grounded.
Yeah, exactly.
And like you said, you don't want people just saying you're the greatest, all bow to so-and-so, like,
and it's not true anyways. Anybody that thinks that about themselves, they're going to have hard times down the road. I very much enjoyed talking about this stuff, man. I personally, I love talking about it. I find it interesting because it forces me to ask questions to myself and to be honest to myself. The hardest part about all of these things is to be honest. And I try to be honest in my answers because, this is a really interesting thing, is I taught a class at my business school in England, and I went back to the school like 10 years later after I graduated. And it was a course on entrepreneurship. And I'm looking at all these young MBAs, and they're taking their courses, and their average age is all about 30. And I genuinely spent the whole hour of my lecture trying to tell them all the reasons why being an entrepreneur is bad. I literally did. And I told them that. I said, guys, my goal is to completely make you not want to be an entrepreneur. And I said, at the end of this, after I've told you a bunch of horror stories and how bad it is and how challenging it is and how your friends and family will lose patience with you and everything about it, if at the end of all my horror stories, you still want to be an entrepreneur, congratulations, you might be a real entrepreneur.
Yeah, exactly. Jeez. I think you scared me out of it.
Yeah, no, it's hard, man. Honestly, if I had to do it all over again, I'm not sure I would do it again. I just wish I had, the only thing I wish I would have had is some sort of a mentor, some sort of, a little guidance. I didn't have the guidance. I didn't have anyone in my life that was somebody older, wiser, had been through the fires to have given me some advice. I had no advice of that kind. Right. The only advice I ever really got was my brother and sister. And so, and we're all the same age, pretty close to it. Right. And so, they're as naive as I am at the time. And so I really would have benefited from some kind of mentor, from somebody saying, you know what, maybe it's not a good idea to, take out credit cards to go fund your business that's in a very, risky business, in entertainment. Don't fund your band with credit cards, bro.
I mean, that's parting wisdom right there.
There you go.
Yeah, I think I benefited from working for a photographer for several years. He mentored me as a photographer, and I learned a lot. And I said I learned more working for him than I ever did in college, because it's working knowledge.
See, I'm very jealous. I wish I would have done that. Yeah. But you know what? I went through the fires, and it was hard, but I'm on the other side of most of the fires now. And now that I'm here, then yes, I'm saying I'm very glad I did what I did, because it was refiner's fire. It's, chipping off the various edges, making yourself a more well-rounded individual. And frankly, entrepreneurship, I found that to be very humbling. Like it really beat me up, but it also made me feel a lot of gratitude for the things I do have now.
Right.
You know, I feel a real sense of gratitude because I know what it's like to sleep on the floor of a hostel, you know, and or be sick at some $5 a night hostel in India by myself. And so I know what these things are like. I know what it's like to have fully maxed credit cards and not be able to pay them. And then, you know, these sorts of things. I know what those things are like. And by keeping those memories alive for me, it allows me to be humble no matter what kind of benefits come down the road or the current benefits I'm enjoying. And so that I think is a part of it. Is I was blessed in many ways. You could say blessed with failure along the path.
Right.
So some entrepreneurs, they're well funded from day one because they have big family money,
Right.
and they can go and take big risks because there's always a huge safety net. And then there's getting their big successes in their 20s or 30s, and the level of gratitude isn't really there.
Right.
Whereas if you don't have those safety nets and you find yourself in dire circumstances, I think having those memories and kind of having that makes it so that when you do achieve success, it's way more sweet. The joy is more sweet.
Yeah.
And so
sure.
now I've had that experience, and I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah. Well, I would say, following you on Instagram and stuff, it's like you could tell you're loving every minute of it.
Yeah.
You have fun with it now. And I think that goes because you've gone through the fire, the trials, and you're coming out on the other side, and now you get to share the joy with people,
Yeah. And see, that's the thing is I don't mind telling people about the failures now because I'm on the other side of it now. And when you're going through it, you don't want to talk about it. You don't want to tell people about it. But when you're on the other side and you're in the kind of the good times, now I have no problem saying how hard it was or how challenging it was.
Right.
And but I appreciate it more now. And I do feel an extraordinarily high levels of gratitude for all the different elements and people and everything that helped make it where it currently is, because Mint is a successful company and I think it's got really strong legs. And I think this is going to be a really cool company over what we're building over the next like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. Well, I collect a lot of different things, so I'm excited that you might branch out a little bit.
Yeah. I think you're going to like some of the other stuff we're building.
Yeah. And I also know some sneakerheads, so they're pretty stoked too.
Awesome, bro.
I'm very humbled that you were able to do it and willing to do it, and it's a true honor. So
thanks, my man. Good to talk to you, Chad. All the best.
Yeah, you too.
Tell your wife hi for me, and tell your friend that you collect with hi for me as well.
All right, we'll do for sure.
All the best to you, bro.
All right, take care.
Bye.